The moment everything stopped, close your eyes. Let the day fade behind you. Let the weight of every second, every minute, every rushed moment simply fall away. There's no need to keep track of time anymore. Not here, not now, because this is a story about what happens when time stops, not metaphorically, not emotionally, but literally, for 1 hour. Imagine it. What if, just once, the entire world paused, not in chaos, not in fear, but in absolute stillness? What would it feel like to be the only one who could move, think, breathe, while the rest of existence stayed frozen in place? You're not dreaming, not yet, but let's begin to drift together, gently, softly, into that space where time unravels and something else begins. It starts like this. You wake up, but not the usual kind of waking. You don't hear the alarm. You don't see sunlight through your curtains. You don't even remember falling asleep. You just wake. The air around you is perfectly still, not quiet, still, no movement, no vibration, not even the low hum of electricity that usually hides in the background. You sit up slowly, your body moves easily, but everything else, everything beyond your skin, feels like it's holding its breath. The clock beside your bed says 2:17 a.m., and it isn't ticking. The second hand is frozen in mid-step. You swing your legs over the side of the bed. The floor beneath you is cool, steady. Your breath echoes softly in your ears. But outside the window, the trees, the street, even the falling rain are completely still, frozen in place. You walk to the window, your bare feet whispering against the floor, and there it is, a raindrop suspended mid-air, halfway down the glass. Light from the street lamp catches inside it, frozen like a tiny prism. You blink once, twice, it doesn't move. You open the window. The air outside is damp, quiet, heavy with silence. Another raindrop hangs, mid-fall, just outside the glass. You reach out, slowly, carefully, and touch it. It's wet, cold, real, but it doesn't slide off your fingertip. It clings, unchanging. And that's when you realize something has happened. Time has paused, not stopped, not broken, just frozen. The city around you is a painting. Cars mid-turn. A cat paused in mid-leap across a rooftop. A pedestrian halfway through a yawn on the sidewalk below. And yet, you move freely. Your breath flows. Your heartbeat continues. You are awake, inside a moment that refuses to move forward. You pull on a warm sweater, soft against your skin. You step outside. The air wraps around you like a hush. You can hear your own footsteps, each one falling without echo. The world isn't dead. It's simply sleeping with its eyes open. You wander slowly, not out of fear, not out of urgency, but out of wonder. A bird is caught mid-flight in the sky, its wings wide and still. A puddle has a splash rising from it, frozen like a sculpture of water. Everywhere you look, there are shapes locked in the middle of motion, but you're not one of them. You're in between, between seconds, between beats, between all the things you never had time to notice. And for the first time, in what feels like years, you are not being pulled forward by time. You are standing completely still, and yet somehow you are more alive than ever. You place your hand against a shop window. Inside, a clerk is reaching toward a shelf, face turned, eyes halfway through a blink. A customer holds a steaming cup of tea, the steam frozen like threads of glass. You stare for a long moment, and you feel something strange. Not power, not fear, but permission. Permission to stop, to feel, to see, to exist, without racing toward anything. You walk again through streets that do not rush, past lights that do not change, and though the world is frozen, you feel movement inside you, a quiet awareness unfolding like petals, a soft breath you didn't know you were holding, finally released. And in that breath, you begin to wonder, what will you do with this hour? What would anyone do if they had just 1 hour in a world that has completely paused? But there's no pressure. This hour isn't about doing, it's about being. And you've already begun. The library between seconds, the city around you remains motionless, not lifeless, just paused. Every window holds a still frame. Every shadow rests exactly where it fell. And yet, as you walk, you don't feel trapped in a still image. You feel free, like someone quietly let you step behind the curtain of time itself. The sound of your own footsteps is the only rhythm now. Not even your heartbeat tries to interrupt it. You turn a corner, a bookstore stands just ahead, lights on inside, a door left ajar mid-swing. A man is frozen as he reaches for the handle, coat caught mid-motion in the wind that no longer moves. You step past him gently, duck under his arm, and walk inside. The scent hits you instantly. Warm paper, worn leather, dust that's never in a hurry. The bookstore is ancient, not by age, by mood. It feels like a place that never needed clocks. You run your fingers along a row of spines. Each one holds hundreds of pages that don't know they've stopped turning. Words, paused, stories, asleep, and then something catches your eye. A narrow hallway in the back of the shop. One that wasn't there before, lit by soft golden light, quiet as breath. You walk toward it. The hallway opens into a chamber, not grand, not small, just still. It is a library, but not a library filled with books. It is filled with moments. Glass cases line the room, each one holding a single object: a watch, a feather, a dried flower, a shoelace, a cracked teacup, and under each object a tiny handwritten card. 11:17 a.m. Her last deep breath before she forgave him. 4:06 p.m. The moment the child understood silence for the first time. 2:44 a.m. A hand paused halfway to knocking. These are not artifacts. They are memories. Moments caught between seconds. You move slowly from one display to the next. You don't speak. You wouldn't dare. You kneel beside a case that holds a paper crane. The card reads 1:31 p.m. His last moment of doubt before he chose love. And you realize this place doesn't collect things. It collects the invisible, not the what, but the when. It's the library of time itself, storing not events, but the stillness inside them. You sit on a bench in the center of the room. Your breathing slows. Your body softens. And for the first time since this hour began, you feel like you've reached the heart of it. You wonder if you could leave a moment here. What would it be? A memory that meant something, or a breath you wish had lasted longer, a goodbye, a hello, a quiet in between that changed everything. You close your eyes. You let yourself go back, just a little, to something small, something yours. And without effort, you feel it rest in your palm. You place your hands gently together, then open them slowly toward the center of the room, as if offering it. And for just a second, the air shimmers, the room sighs, a new display appears. It holds nothing, just light, and the card reads, Unknown time. The moment you realized you were allowed to stop rushing, you exhale. You stand. The golden hallway waits for you again. And as you step back through it, you carry something with you. Not heavy, but full. The knowledge that between every hour, every tick, every decision, there is a place where time remembers the quiet parts, and they are never lost. Footsteps in a still world. You leave the library behind, but it doesn't feel like leaving. It feels like stepping out of a dream without waking up. The hallway you return through is quiet, golden light flickering softly along the floor like it's alive, like it's listening. And when you emerge back into the bookstore, nothing has changed. The clerk is still frozen, mid-step. The man outside the door still reaches for a handle that won't turn. The world is still caught in its long inhale, and you are still the only one breathing. You walk outside again. The city greets you like an old friend paused in mid-sentence. The buildings do not speak. The streets do not move. And yet, you feel held by it. You walk without knowing where you're going. And that's the beautiful part. There is nowhere to be. You cross an intersection. The traffic is frozen, mid-motion. One cyclist leans forward, his face relaxed. legs extended behind him in a blur of movement, except he is perfectly still. Dog across the street hangs in the air mid-bark, ears lifted, fur frozen like sculpture. You smile, not at the oddness of it, but at the beauty of what it means to pause. You reach a small park. Trees stand motionless, leaves caught mid-fall hang suspended like ornaments in the air. You catch one between your fingers. It crumbles softly the moment you touch it, not dead, not alive, just paused. You sit on a bench, letting the silence wrap itself around you like a heavy blanket, not suffocating, comforting. Across the field, two children are frozen mid-run, their hands reaching for a kite that's caught mid-dive. The kite floats, tail stretched out behind it, colors vivid in the still air, and you wonder, how much do we miss in motion? How many details blur past us because the clock is always shouting? How many moments go unseen, unloved, simply because we never stopped to notice? You rise again. Your footsteps are the only sound, but they are enough. They echo slightly off walls, bounce off buildings, fall into the puddles that don't ripple. You press your hand against a brick wall and feel warmth. You feel the past. You feel 1,000 conversations that were held beside this very wall. Moments of waiting, moments of laughter, moments no one remembered except the wall. You continue on. Eventually, you reach a narrow alleyway lined with old lanterns. One of them flickers, caught mid-blink, and then you hear it. A sound, small, delicate, not your footsteps, not your breath. Another footstep. You freeze, not in fear, but in awe, because until now, you thought you were alone. You turn slowly, and there, at the far end of the alley, is a girl, young, still, eyes open, moving. She stares back at you with wide, calm eyes, and you both realize the same thing. You are not the only one awake in the hour between seconds. Another sleepless soul. You don't speak. Not yet. The girl doesn't either. For a long moment, the two of you simply look at one another, not with fear, not even with curiosity, with something quieter, recognition. She stands at the far end of the alleyway. A red scarf is wrapped loosely around her shoulders. One of her hands is pressed to the wall beside her, as if steadying herself. Her chest rises slowly. She's breathing. She's awake. Just like you. You take a step forward. The stones beneath your feet echo faintly between the walls. She doesn't move away. She watches you, and in her eyes is a softness, not surprise, not wonder, but calm, like she's been waiting. You stop just a few feet from her. The still world around you feels unchanged, but something inside it shifts. She speaks first, her voice almost a whisper. Is it frozen for you too? You nod, then ask, how long have you been awake? She smiles faintly. Since it happened, you glance at the unmoving sky, the street, the leaves. How long ago was that? She looks past you, toward the city. No idea. I stopped trying to count. She steps away from the wall, and the scarf around her catches a breeze. Or maybe it's just your imagination. There is no breeze. She walks with you, slowly, both of your footsteps echoing in harmony. As you make your way through the alley and back into the city streets, something changes. Not in the buildings, not in the light, in you. You realize, for the first time in this frozen hour, you're not just experiencing stillness, you're sharing it. The world becomes softer when it's seen by more than one set of eyes. She speaks again, gently. Have you touched anyone? You shake your head. I tried, she says, but they don't respond. Not even animals. You walk in silence for a while. She adds, I think this is a gift, but not for everyone, just for us. You look around at the still painted city. Why us? She smiles. I stopped asking that too. You pass by a cafe with steam still, frozen over a cup. She places a hand on the glass. This used to be my favorite place, she says. Still is? You ask. She shrugs. Maybe more now than ever. You continue walking, down a quiet road, past a frozen bus, across a bridge where birds hang mid-flight like sculptures in the air. It feels different now. The silence is warmer. The stillness, deeper. There's something sacred about sharing this with someone who understands it. You reach the center of an open square. Statues surround the space. Still, but less so now, compared to everything else. She sits on the edge of a fountain that no longer flows. You sit beside her, and together you watch the frozen city sleep. She tells you stories, moments, memories she noticed while walking alone. The boy with a crumpled letter in his hand, the old woman laughing mid-conversation, the father carrying his sleeping child. None of them will remember being paused, but she remembers all of them. You close your eyes and lean back. Your body feels lighter, not because you've stopped moving, but because something inside you has let go. She asks softly, do you think time will start again? You don't know. You don't care, because in this moment, with another soul beside you, the world has given you something time never could, the chance to be, without needing to become. The Museum of Stillness, you and the girl walk without speaking, but there's no tension, no urgency, only presence, the kind of silence that doesn't need to be filled, the kind of company that feels like warmth on skin after a long cold. She walks slightly ahead now, not leading, not following, just drifting beside you through the quiet folds of the city. Up ahead, you both spot it at the same time, A grand stone building with pillars and stained glass windows. The city's museum. Its doors are halfway open, frozen in motion, as if time tried to close them but forgot. You step inside. The air changes instantly. Cool, quiet. The kind of quiet that feels ancient. Statues rise around you. Carved stone figures, unmoving. Paintings line the walls. Brushstrokes mid-motion. Colors frozen in their most vibrant form. But none of that is strange. What's strange is the people inside. Dozens of them. Visitors, tourists, staff, all caught in mid-thought, mid-reach, mid-breath. One boy is kneeling to tie his shoe, fingers almost touching the laces. A woman is gesturing toward a sculpture, her mouth open, explaining something that will never be finished. It's a gallery of life paused, a museum within a museum. You and the girl walk among them like ghosts, except you're the ones alive. You reach the main exhibit hall, massive, circular, a skylight overhead, frozen in the act of letting in a single beam of dusty sunlight. And in the center of the room, a clock. Not just any clock, an enormous, hanging structure made of glass and brass, suspended mid-swing, mid-chime, mid-breath. It should feel like a monument to time. Instead, it feels like an apology, as if time itself has hung its head and said, "I'm sorry. I moved too fast." You sit on a marble bench beneath it. The girl joins you. For a long while, neither of you speak. Then she says, "I used to come here just to sit, even before all this. It was the only place that felt slow." You nod. "I think time always wanted to rest." You whisper, "Maybe," she says. "Maybe it finally let itself." You both lie back on the cold stone floor beneath the suspended clock. Your eyes trace the silent shadows. Your breath echoes softly off the marble. And in this place, made to preserve history, you feel the most present you've ever been. You think of the people around you, mid-step, mid-conversation, mid-life. They don't know they've paused, and maybe they don't need to, because sometimes the gift isn't knowing time has stopped. It's having someone beside you when it does. The girl reaches for your hand, not with romance, not with need, just a small, quiet gesture of shared stillness. You let your fingers rest in hers, and together, in the Museum of Stillness, you do nothing. You rest, and that is more than enough. The rooftop that touched the sky. You leave the museum quietly. Neither of you speak, not out of awkwardness, but because silence is beginning to feel like its own language. The door opens for no one. Time still holds its breath. The streets are just as still as when you entered, but something in you has shifted. You're no longer walking through a paused world. You're walking through a moment, a sacred, suspended moment that belongs only to the few who are awake within it. She walks with you, scarf trailing behind her like a gentle flame. The wind does not blow, but somehow her presence moves the air anyway. You walk past a frozen fountain, past a musician stuck mid-note, a pigeon mid-wing, a bicycle paused on one wheel, and then, without discussing it, you both look up. A building, tall, modern, glass gleaming in the dull light of a sun that isn't rising or setting. Its rooftop calls to you, maybe because it's the only place left that hasn't been touched, or maybe because in a world that's stopped moving, you want to see everything from above. You enter the building. The elevator is stopped, mid-blink. You take the stairs. The climb is slow, but not tiring. Each step echoes softly. She doesn't race ahead. You don't lag behind. Your movements are in rhythm. Two people not rushing, not arriving, just continuing. Floor after floor, your breath grows deeper, not heavier. And then, the door, the final one. You push it open, and the world unfolds. The rooftop is wide, empty, wrapped in soft light. You can see everything. The city stretched out like a silent painting, roads like veins, buildings like bones, everything still. She walks to the edge and sits with her legs dangling over the side. You join her. The silence up here is heavier, not suffocating, but thick with meaning. Above you, the sky holds itself in place. Clouds that should drift remain suspended in soft brush strokes. The moon is faint. The stars are few. But the stillness, it's complete. You take it all in. The city, the frozen world, the tiny suspended lives of millions who don't know they're paused, and the rare stillness that comes from being outside of time. She speaks, finally. Do you think we were chosen? You breathe. Maybe we chose ourselves, you say. She nods slowly. I used to wish for everything to stop, just for a while, to catch my breath, to listen, to not feel like I was falling behind. She looks over at you, and now, here we are. You let her words settle, then ask, are you scared it'll end? She shrugs. I think I was, at first, but now, I think I'm okay with it. Even if everything starts again, I'll still remember what it felt like to be weightless. You both lean back, resting your heads against the cold concrete of the rooftop. The sky hangs just above your faces. You imagine reaching up, pressing your fingers into it like clay, leaving an imprint, a mark. Not to say I was here, but to say this mattered. She closes her eyes. You do too. And in that shared quiet, you feel it again. The strange, beautiful gift of nothing happening. No deadlines, no clocks, no expectations. Only breath, only presence, only the echo of a world that finally let itself sleep. The garden, behind the glass, you awaken softly, not from sleep, but from the kind of a stillness that feels even deeper. You and the girl lie side by side on the rooftop, staring up at the sky that still refuses to move. No new clouds, no changing stars, only soft color, like dusk caught in place. Neither of you speaks for a while, and why would you, when every second is held like breath in a cupped hand? Eventually, you both sit up. She rubs her eyes gently. You stretch without thinking, the kind of stretch that isn't about tension, just the body reminding itself that it exists. She looks at you and smiles. I want to show you something, she says. You nod, and together, without question, you begin to descend. The staircase is quieter now, even though it was silent before. You feel your weight returning to your body, not heaviness, but awareness. You reach the street, then follow her through narrow lanes, past stone walls and overgrown ivy. Even frozen, the plants seem to lean toward you, as if somehow the life in them still recognizes motion. You arrive at a glass building, tucked behind a row of apartments. Its frame is old, the kind of greenhouse that looks forgotten and yet perfectly alive. She pushes the old iron gate open. It creaks. Your first sound from something that isn't you. Even in frozen time, it makes a noise. A sound outside your breath. Inside the greenhouse, the world is different. It's warm, green, dense with moisture. The glass above is fogged, but soft golden light filters through in ribbons. Inside, plants bloom, not paused mid-growth, but held mid-moment. Vines twist up beams. Petals hover, wide open. Water droplets cling to leaves like miniature mirrors. And in the center of the garden, a chair, worn wood, paint peeling. She walks toward it, sits, and exhales. This is where I come when I want to remember. Remember what? You ask, kneeling beside her. She closes her eyes. The world before time took over. You let the words settle. She continues. There was a day when I sat here, crying so quietly, no one heard. I don't even remember what I was crying about, but the leaves around me didn't rush me. They just stayed. You look around, and yes, it's true. This place feels like it never needed clocks. You rise and walk slowly between the plants. Everywhere you turn, something sacred. A bud halfway to blooming, a butterfly mid-flight, spider frozen on a single silk thread, legs spread, light gleaming through its web like glass. And then you find something new, a door at the far side of the greenhouse, wooden, half covered in ivy, old but patient. You look back at her. She nods gently. You press it open, and there it is. Another space, another world, a walled garden, open to the sky, stone paths winding through flower beds, benches beneath trees heavy with fruit, a small pond reflecting a sky that hasn't changed in hours. And the sound, it's different here, still quiet, but more layered. You hear bees that aren't flying, wind that isn't blowing, water that isn't rippling. It's as if this place once sang and now holds the last note. You sit by the pond. She joins you, silent, barefoot now. You both lean toward the still water, and there, in the reflection, not your faces, but moments. Her, younger, alone, writing in a notebook. You, standing still in a storm. Other lives, other yous. Frozen echoes of who you've been. She touches the water. It doesn't move, but the reflection changes. Now, you're both sitting together. Now she's laughing. Now your eyes are closed. At peace. I think this hour shows us what's underneath, she whispers. You nod. I think this hour is who we are, without time chasing us. You both lie back on the grass. The sun above hasn't moved, but the warmth feels deeper. You close your eyes, and for the first time in what feels like forever, you let your mind go, completely silent. No plans, no pressure, no past, no future. Just here, just now, just the garden behind the glass, where nothing needs to grow and everything is already full. The street where memories wait, the air in the garden is warmer now, not because time has moved, but because you have. The girl is quiet beside you, lying with her hands folded gently on her chest, eyes closed, but not asleep. You lie next to her, staring upward into a sky that doesn't change. A sky that keeps secrets, like a book with no ending. For a long time, neither of you moves. It's not stillness out of exhaustion. It's stillness because the moment deserves it. Eventually, you sit up. The grass leaves soft patterns on your skin. The pond beside you reflects the same sky it always has, yet now it feels like it sees you. You glance at the girl. She opens her eyes and nods as if to say, it's time to go. You walk together through the greenhouse again, back through the arched glass frame where vines hang like forgotten words, through the wrought iron gate that never swung fully shut, and onto the street once more. Still, the world waits. The people are paused, mid-smile, mid-step, mid-thought. Leaves hang suspended. The clouds remain painted against the sky. Even the shadows haven't shifted. But something in you has changed. You walk without needing direction now. Each step feels chosen, not planned, just true. She walks beside you, fingers brushing the stone walls as you pass, letting them remind her of time without needing to rush it. You pass a bakery. The scent of cinnamon and yeast still lingers in the air. A man inside is paused mid-laugh, one hand over his belly, the other holding a paper bag that's just started to crumple. You smile. So does she. Farther along, you find a street that looks familiar. You're not sure why until you notice the corner bench. The paint is chipped. A plaque is bolted to the backrest. It reads simply, "Where she said yes." You pause beside it. The air feels different here. This isn't just a memory. This place holds something. Across the street is a florist's shop. A bouquet is frozen mid-pass. A young boy handing it to a woman with tears in her eyes. The flowers have droplets on them. Not dew, not rain. Tears, maybe. You step closer to the window. Look inside. There's a wall covered in photographs. None of them move, but all of them feel alive. A wedding, a birthday, two people in front of a hospital, holding hands, a dog with a tilted head, a child's first steps. You feel it, not just in your body, but in your chest, your throat, your breath. This street, it's where memories wait, not the loud ones, the ones that only get remembered when you have time to slow down. She walks past you, lightly tapping the window once with her fingers, then points to the building across the road. It's a simple home. Worn bricks, white trim. The curtains are caught mid-drift from a breeze that no longer moves. You follow her up the short steps. Inside, everything is peaceful. Coats hang by the door. Books are stacked neatly beside a reading chair. A clock ticks, but only in posture. The hands have not moved. You walk slowly, reverently, down a hallway, into a bedroom. A woman lies on a bed, eyes closed, face serene. Beside her, a younger woman holds her hand. They are still, but the feeling in the room is not. The air is full of something, not sadness, not pain, something like completion. She whispers to you, "Do you feel it?" You nod. You don't know what you feel, but you do feel. The two frozen women are not just paused, they are remembered. You walk back outside. The bench still waits, the sky still holds. She speaks as you walk again. "I think time didn't freeze, just to give us silence." You look at her. "I think it froze to give us space, to remember, to return, to witness the things that didn't get our attention when they happened." You turn down another alley, this one lit by old lanterns. The air smells like dust and honey. You pass a chalkboard outside a cafe. "Don't forget to laugh today." You smile. You didn't forget. You just didn't know you had the time. Now you do. And even though nothing in the world moves, you feel like you're finally moving through it the way you were always meant to, softly, fully, present. The apartment in the sky. You've walked through half a world of silence, but somehow the stillness has only grown deeper, not louder, not heavier, just fuller. It no longer feels like something missing. It feels like something offered. You and the girl move slowly through a part of the city where the buildings are tall. not in a showy way, but in a way that suggests they've seen a lot. These are not brand new towers. These are places filled with stories. You come to a building with a blue door, worn, faded, but kind looking somehow. She places her hand on the handle. It opens easily. The stairs inside are narrow, creaky, steep, but you take them anyway. The higher you go, the quieter it gets. Not because the world is still, it always has been, but because something about this place holds a hush that's earned. At the top of the building is a small apartment. The door is unlocked. You both step in. The first thing you notice is the light. It pours in through the large window at the far end of the room, glowing golden orange, casting shadows that stretch softly across the floor. The second thing you notice is the dust in the air. Not thick, just enough to sparkle. Each speck caught mid-float, like stars that wandered indoors. The apartment is quiet. Bookshelves line the walls. A kettle sits on the stove, steam curled mid-rise, like a thought half finished. On the couch, a woman sleeps. She's curled into a blanket, hands clasped over a notebook on her chest. A pencil hovers in the air, having just slipped from her fingers. Next to her, on the coffee table, a plate holds two cookies, one with a bite missing. You pause, take in every detail. Then you look up, and you see them, photographs, framed along the wall, hanging above the couch, moments, memories, a couple smiling by a lake, a child reaching toward a puppy, a hand holding another hand on a hospital bed, a group of friends on a balcony at night, mouths open in laughter. This isn't just a home, it's a collection. You and the girl don't speak. You walk slowly, carefully, absorbing everything without touching a thing. You move into the next room, a study. Paintbrushes rest in a glass jar. A canvas leans against the wall, half covered in soft pinks and blues. Next to it, a list of colors written in pencil. Dusk sky, old bruise, grandmother's shawl, first light after crying. You read them twice. Then you both walk toward the window. It overlooks the city, but the city feels smaller now. Not insignificant, just gentler. From here, you see rooftops you walked across, streets you passed through, moments you didn't notice when you were racing to somewhere else. She leans against the windowsill. Sometimes, she says softly, I used to wonder what it would be like if the world just paused, stopped long enough for me to breathe, to catch up, to understand everything I missed while trying to keep up. You nod slowly, and now she turns toward you. Now I wonder why I waited for the world to stop before giving myself permission. You sit beside her. Your arms barely touch. The silence between you feels warm. There is something unspoken in this apartment, something you felt before but couldn't name, and now you can. Stillness is not absence, it's presence. uninterrupted. You close your eyes for a moment, and in the quiet, you feel the woman on the couch. You feel her peace. You feel her dreams, suspended like birds with nowhere to rush to. You don't know her. She may never know you were here, but somehow, you're part of her moment. That matters. That's enough. When you open your eyes again, the light has shifted. Barely. The dust in the air looks like a constellation. The girl smiles. You ready? You nod. You leave the apartment as gently as you entered. No doors slam. No floors creak. Even time holds its breath as you pass through. Back out on the rooftop, you look at the city once more. It hasn't changed, but you have. And that is what this hour is teaching you. The world doesn't need to move for you to arrive. When the world begins to wake, you stand once again on the rooftop. The door behind you closes softly. No sound, just the feeling of a chapter ending. Below, the city remains in its suspended quiet, a world caught mid-thought. But something is different now. You don't just see the stillness. You understand it. You know the weight of it, the grace of it, the reason behind it. The girl walks to the edge and rests her hands on the railing. You join her. There is a heaviness in the air, not of dread, but of completion. The hour is almost over. You both feel it without checking a clock, without hearing a bell. It's in the way the light hums, in the subtle shift in the clouds, in the way your body knows how to prepare, even when your mind isn't ready. The city hasn't moved, but inside it, something leans forward, a slow tipping toward motion, like the moment just before a breath returns. She speaks softly. There's one more place I want to go. You nod, and together, you descend again, down the stairs, out the door, into the street. The stillness follows you, but now it feels like a companion walking behind, not a blanket wrapped around you. She leads you east, toward a part of the city where the buildings are smaller, older, closer together. You pass rows of apartments with iron balconies, shops with faded signage, curtains caught in time, fluttering in windows that forgot to close. And then you arrive, a small square, stone benches, a willow tree, a fountain at the center, no longer spraying, just remembering that it once did. She walks slowly toward the fountain and stops in front of it. You follow, standing beside her as the silence stretches around you. Then she points. On the edge of the fountain is a figure, a man, still, head bowed, hands gripping the sides of the stone basin, eyes shut, tears frozen on his cheeks. You step closer. His face is calm, but tired, so tired. In front of him, a small photograph lying on the stone. You can't make out the face, but you know what it is. Loss. Not dramatic, not loud, just real. She kneels beside the man. He's been here every morning, she says. You're confused, but time has been frozen. She nods. For them, not for me, not for us. You realize she's seen more than you have. She's been awake longer. This frozen hour hasn't been her first. How many times? She doesn't look up. I stopped counting. You don't press. Because it doesn't matter. What matters is what she does next. She reaches forward and places something near the man's hand. A flower. Simple. White. Pressed between two pages of a book she's carried in her bag this whole time. I don't know if he'll notice it when time starts again, she says, but maybe something in him will. You kneel beside her, and something swells in your chest, something wordless, heavy, sacred. You sit in silence together for a while. Then she stands, brushes her knees, and says, "It's close now." You both turn toward the sky, and for the first time since all this began, it moves, not fast, just enough. The cloud to your left drifts the tiniest bit. A shadow changes shape. A bird's wing, mid-flap, begins to close. The world is returning, one thread at a time. You walk together slowly, each step a goodbye to the version of the world that existed only in stillness. You pass the bookstore again. The raindrop on the glass begins to fall, just slightly. The woman in the cafe moves her hand. The steam from her cup lifts upward. The man with the bouquet exhales. The petals tremble. You reach the place where you first saw her, the alley where silence introduced you to presence. You stop. She stops. You face each other. There's no need for a farewell. There's no drama, no music, no final line. Only one question, spoken in a whisper. Will you remember? You nod, and she does too. Then she turns, walks away, not toward anything, just forward. You watch her disappear down the street, and the city breathes. A car engine hums to life. Birds flap, children shout, a phone rings. Time has returned, but you are not the same. You stand in the middle of the sidewalk, unmoved by the rush. Around you, watching the world fill itself back in. It's beautiful, no longer a blur, because now you know how to be still inside of it. You step forward, soft, slow, deliberate, and as you walk into the waking city, you carry something precious, the memory of the hour when everything stopped. And for once, you didn't. The hour that stayed with you, you walk, not out of routine, not to reach anywhere, but simply because your feet understand now. Movement doesn't always mean momentum. Sometimes it's reflection. The city around you is awake again, but it isn't loud, not to you. Everything feels quieter, not because the sounds are gone, but because you hear them differently. Now, you watch the same bus that once sat frozen in the street roll slowly down the road. You watch the cafe door swing open. The woman step out holding her tea, steams you rising, this time not caught in place, and it hits you. You've crossed over, not from one place to another, but from before to after. It's still the same hour on the clock, but you are not the same person who stepped out of that bed when time first froze. You walk past the street where the boy gave the bouquet. You notice the flowers now look fresher, as if that moment never paused. But you know it did. You pass the museum again. The massive clock now swings gently above the still watching guests. The chime it never finished earlier now finally rings. You feel it in your chest, not a sound, a memory. The rooftop you once lay on is now bathed in sunlight. Someone new stands there now, looking over the city. You wonder if they feel anything different in the air. You walk down the quiet alley where you first saw her, the girl who understood what it meant to be weightless in a world addicted to time. She's not there. She might never be again, but she was. And because of that, this place remembers. You pass the bench near the florist. An older man sits on it, looking at nothing in particular. The memory is gone for him, but for you, the street still holds it. The apartment you entered is now just another apartment. A kettle whistles. A woman rubs her eyes and stretches. The notebook still lies on her lap. The cookies are gone now. Time has pulled her forward, but part of you remains behind, with the version of her who slept in the golden glow. And that's when it happens. You stop, not because something is in your way, but because your body suddenly knows. The hour didn't leave. It became part of you. It stitched itself into your breath, into the way your eyes notice, into the softness in your footsteps, into the quiet between your words. It didn't disappear when time returned. It just stepped aside, gently making room for you to carry it. You sit at the edge of a small fountain in a courtyard filled with people. Everyone's talking, laughing, eating, scrolling, but you're still not distant, not lost, just aware. You dip your fingers into the water. It ripples. You smile, because now you see it differently. The ripple is not disruption, it's reminder. That movement is beautiful when you remember how stillness feels. You close your eyes, and suddenly you see them. The feather in the library, the woman by the window, the museum's frozen guests, the street of memories, the greenhouse behind the glass, the girl with the scarf who never asked for your story, only walked alongside it. They are not gone. They are inside you. You will walk through many clocks, many hours, many days filled with noise, but you will always carry this. The hour when the world gave you permission to stop, to feel, to breathe, to notice, to listen, to be, even now, as the world rushes around you. You're not rushing because time has resumed, but you have not surrendered to it, and that is the miracle. You stand, you walk again, not faster, not louder, just fully present. And as the city moves, as the clocks tick, as the day unfolds, a quiet part of you remains forever still. The clock you never see. There's a place in the city most people never notice, not because it's hidden, but because it's ordinary. An alley not marked by neon, a wall too plain to photograph, a door too quiet to draw interest. But today, your feet carry you there anyway. There's no sign to follow, no voice calling you, only something deep in your chest. A pull, a hum, a sense that there is one more page to turn before this chapter ends. You enter the alley. It's narrow and still. No windows, no wind. The air is cooler here, but not cold. It feels like something waiting. Halfway down the alley, there's a doorway, old wooden, faded blue paint chipped around the edges. No handle, just a gentle push. You place your hand on the surface. It's warm. The moment you push, the world shifts. You're inside, not inside a room, but inside something older, something beyond rooms. The walls are stone, curved like the inside of a bell. The floor is smooth, lit by light that has no source, and at the center, suspended in midair, a clock, not digital, not antique, something in between. It floats slowly, surrounded by invisible air, but it doesn't tick. It pulses. Each pulse sends a wave through the space, soft like the echo of a dream, like the memory of a heartbeat. You step closer, and as you do, you begin to see them, faint outlines along the stone walls, moments, not photos, not paintings, more like impressions. A boy sitting beside a dog, forehead pressed to fur. A woman laughing in the rain, her mouth wide, eyes shut. An elderly man holding a child's hand beneath a street lamp. Someone sitting alone, drinking tea and watching dust in the light. You realize what this place is. It's not a monument, not a sanctuary. It's the space between time, the pause that exists in every second, but is never noticed. You walk the circle slowly. Each imprint glows slightly as you near it, and with each one, a piece of you settles deeper. The clock in the center does not measure hours. It does not track movement. It holds meaning. It is the keeper of the in-between. You sit on the smooth stone floor, your hands in your lap, your breath slow, your eyes on the silent pulse of the floating clock, and you listen, not to words, to memory, to stillness, to that invisible rhythm you've always lived with, but never truly heard. You think back to every moment you've paused in this hour. The garden, the rooftop, the greenhouse, the apartment in the sky, the square where the flower was placed, the girl's quiet smile, the stranger's frozen breath, the way the air felt just before the city woke. And now, here, the room without time, the clock that beats without numbers, the space that never rushes because it doesn't have to. You close your eyes, and when you do, you feel something press softly into your palm, warm, weightless. You open your hand, a small piece of light, not glowing, just resting. You don't know what it is, but you know what it means. You've been marked, not by time, but by the moment time let go of you. And you didn't run. You didn't resist. You simply stayed. You rise. The clock pulses one more time, then pauses completely. It no longer needs to beat. It has done its work. You step back through the door, back into the alley. The sound returns slowly. Birds, footsteps, the rustle of leaves. The city is moving again. You step out of the alley and merge into the day. No one notices you. No one needs to, because the truth of what you carry now, it's not for them to see. It's for you to live. You cross a street. You hold the light in your palm until it fades. Not gone, just absorbed. Into your walk, into your voice, into your pause before replying, into your breath before reacting, into your smile when someone doesn't expect one. You are different, and you never needed the world to change to feel this way. You just needed it to stop long, enough for you to remember who you are beneath the clock. You look up, and for a split second, you swear. The clouds pause again, not for an hour, not for the world, just for you. The places only. Silence remembers. You move through the city now like someone who hears a rhythm others can't. The streets are alive again. Cars passing, conversations rising, footsteps rushing across crosswalks. And yet, you remain still inside, not motionless, still. It's as if the silence you met during that hour never left you. It simply chose to stay hidden in your breath, your posture, your gaze, and the world feels different, not because it has changed, but because you see it differently now. You pass a child skipping. She laughs, but the sound doesn't jolt you the way it used to. You pass a busker playing guitar. The strings vibrate in rhythm, but you no longer feel pulled by the urgency of sound. You listen differently now. You carry silence like a second skin. You reach an old part of the city where cobblestone alleys wind like forgotten thoughts, and ivy drips down walls like melted time. Here, the pace is slower, not by law, but by nature. There's a bookstore on the corner, a real one, with wood-framed windows and a bell above the door. You push it open, The bell rings gently. You don't flinch. Inside, the shelves lean under the weight of forgotten stories. There are no glowing screens, no beeping registers, just a man behind the counter, reading. He looks up, nods, then returns to his page, as if to say, "You're welcome here." You wander, no destination. Your fingers graze the spines of books. You stop at a section marked Memory. It's handwritten, no categories, just that one word, memory. You pull out a book titled Places We Forgot to Feel. It's thin, worn. You open it, blank pages, all of them, but in the center, tucked between two empty leaves, a small envelope. You open it slowly. Inside is a card. It reads, "This hour did not vanish. It scattered." On the back, a list. The street lamp that flickers too early. The bench with initials carved into it. The elevator that pauses between floors for just a moment. Too long. The attic no one opens, but everyone remembers. The space between your inhale and your reply. The dream you forget, but feel all day. You close the book, and suddenly, you know where to go next. Not because you've been told, because something in you pulls. You leave the shop. The man nods again, still reading, as if this is how it always goes. You walk across the street and down an alley behind a cafe. At the end, a gate. It creaks. On the other side, a courtyard. Small, abandoned, overgrown, but not empty. In the center is a chair, and beside it, another chair. One faces the moon, the other, the wall. You sit in the one facing the sky, and there, without planning to, you begin to remember places that never had names. The hallway in your childhood home, where light fell just right. The bus stop, where you cried and didn't know why. The bridge, where you stood with a friend and said nothing for a full hour. The sound of your mother's breath, asleep in the next room. The sidewalk crack you stepped over every day and missed when it was gone. The way she laughed, quiet, then loud, then quiet again. You sit there for a long time, and then you begin to speak, not loudly, not to be heard, just to release a story. The words between the words you speak, not to anyone, not even to yourself. You speak as if your voice is part of the air now, like it's something borrowed from the silence you've carried with you since the hour time froze. It begins with fragments, sentences you didn't know were waiting, names you haven't said aloud in years, regrets softened by distance, wishes you forgot you whispered. Each word lands gently in the courtyard, like leaves falling on still water, making no splash, only ripples. The chair across from you remains empty, and yet you feel it's listening, not judging, not answering, just Being there, you let your voice fade, let your breath return to rhythm, and for a moment, you feel more seen in silence than you ever did in sound. There are no clocks here, no phones, no one checking the time, because time itself has already passed through you, and in doing so, left you softer. You rise from the chair slowly, as if standing from a memory. The air is still thick with listening. As you turn to leave the courtyard, you glance back at the second chair. For the briefest second, you see a figure, not clearly, not completely, just the outline of someone who could have been anyone, or maybe just a version of yourself you forgot to sit with. Then it's gone. You step back onto the cobbled street. The sun has lowered. Shadows stretch long across the buildings. A golden hue washes everything in a slow glow. And again, you walk, not toward anything, but with something, a slowness, a knowing, a way of seeing that wasn't possible before that 1 hour that rewrote everything quietly. You pass a man arguing on the phone. You don't flinch. You pass a woman crying on a park bench. You don't rush. Because now you understand something most people don't. Every person is carrying a moment they don't speak about. A frozen hour they never got. A silence they never learned to hear. A stillness they think is weakness, when in fact, it's where all the strength lives. You cross a footbridge. Beneath you, the river flows with soft urgency. But above, your breath is steady, not because you've slowed the world down, but because you finally stopped being dragged by it. You come to a library, one you've never seen. You enter, no one greets you, but there is a seat beside a window, and on the table in front of it, a notebook. Its pages are blank, except the first one, written in ink. You may write only what cannot be said. You smile, because you know what that means now. It's not about secrets. It's about everything that lives between the things we say, the pauses, the almosts, the held breath, the words we write with glances, the sentences we speak with our silence. You sit, you open the notebook to the second page. The pen is waiting. You don't hesitate. You begin to write, not to remember, but to honor. You write about the hour the world gave you. You write about the girl with the scarf, the dinosaur of a clock that pulsed without time, the glass house where leaves never moved, the moment in the square when a flower was placed beside a man who couldn't move forward. You write about every part of you that was afraid to be still, until the world paused and showed you that stillness is where everything begins. You write and write. The room around you darkens, but you don't stop, because this isn't writing, it's remembering, it's releasing, it's planting seeds in paper, so that when someone else finds this place, they'll read your story and feel less alone in their own. Eventually, your hand slows. You close the notebook, and in the still air, you speak only one thing aloud. Thank you. Not to anyone in particular, just to the moment, to the silence that changed everything. You walk outside. The wind brushes against your skin, and for a second, it almost feels like time is nodding at you, not rushing you, just acknowledging you listened, and that's all it ever wanted. The echo you didn't know was yours. You walk beneath a sky that has started moving again, but only slightly. It drifts now, like someone waking slowly from a long, important dream, as if time itself is still unsure whether it wants to return fully. The city breathes with new rhythm, a gentler one, not because it slowed down, but because you no longer rush to meet it. And as you walk, you carry something more than memory. You carry presence, the ability to feel the moment without needing to reshape it. It's early evening now. Shadows stretch long across sidewalks. Birdsong returns in brief notes, soft enough to be missed. Unless you're someone who has learned how to hear, you reach a narrow path between buildings, lined with vines that reach out as if they've been waiting for someone to notice them. At the end of the path is an archway, and beyond that, a small amphitheater carved into the ground. Stone steps circle inward like ripples, a round stage at the bottom, open to the sky. You step into the space slowly. There's no crowd, no lights, no microphone, just a quiet echo, and the kind of silence that asks, are you ready to listen to yourself? You descend. The stone beneath your feet is warm from the day's sun, and when you reach the center, you stop. You turn slowly. This place isn't about performance, it's about reflection. It's where the world's noise goes to rest, and maybe where yours does too. You close your eyes, and without meaning to, you speak, not words at first, not a speech, just breath, long, full, present. Then, a question. Who was I before I forgot to be still? The echo returns your voice to you, not exactly the same, softer, wiser, and you realize this isn't just a space that reflects sound, it reflects self. You sit cross-legged in the center of the circle, and slowly, gently, you begin to name the pieces of yourself that you've hidden behind tasks, goals, alarms, and expectations. You say things aloud you didn't know you remembered. I miss who I was before I learned to hurry. I miss the way I used to sit in silence without filling it. I miss the version of me that believed presence was enough. Each sentence echoes back with kindness, as if the space doesn't just listen, it understands. You look up at the sky. It's darker now. Stars are beginning to bloom, one by one, each one a reminder that some light arrives only when things are quiet enough to see it. You speak again, this time not to remember, but to release. I forgive myself for every time I rushed through beauty, for every moment I let pass without holding it, for forgetting that slowness was a kind of strength. Your words fall upward, and this time, when the echo returns, it doesn't sound like your voice anymore. It sounds like the girl from the hour, like time itself, whispering back, "You remembered. That's all you ever needed to do." You rise, not quickly, not with purpose, but with peace. You walk up the stone steps slowly, each one grounding you deeper into the body you once felt disconnected from. At the top of the amphitheater, you turn and take one last look at the stage. It's empty, and yet it feels full, as if your voice left something there. Not sound, but essence. You walk back into the city. The windows glow now. Families eat dinner. Friends laugh through open doors. Someone plays a piano in the distance, and through it all, you feel the quiet you once touched, not behind you, inside you. And that quiet is not absence. It is everything that matters, returned to you. The window you never looked through. There's a certain kind of quiet that doesn't ask to be heard. It just is. You feel that quiet in your bones now. Not because the city is silent, but because you finally are. The noise hasn't stopped, but your need to chase it has. You walk through a neighborhood filled with windows, balconies decorated with plants, curtains half drawn, light spilling from inside. And for the first time, you don't pass by quickly. You pause. You let your eyes land on one window, then another. You notice the smallest things: a hand stirring tea, a child building a tower of blocks, an older couple sitting in comfortable silence. It's not about peeking in. It's about remembering what exists just outside of attention. You stop in front of a tall apartment building. Something about it feels familiar, though you've never seen it before. You enter quietly. There's no doorman, just a winding stairwell that leads upward. You climb slowly. At the fourth floor, you see it, a door slightly ajar, as if someone left it open, not by accident, but by invitation. You knock once. There's no answer. You step in. The air is soft, the light dim. It's a lived-in space. Books on the floor, blankets draped over chairs, candles half burned, wax pooled. But it's not messy. It's real. At the far end of the room is a large window, and in front of it, a writing desk. On the desk, a single notebook. The cover reads only, "What you missed while you were moving too fast." You walk to the window, sit in the chair, and look out. And what you see is not extraordinary, not by the usual standards, just a tree, a street lamp, a puddle reflecting, stars, a bird pecking at a railing, a bicycle leaning against a wall. But you see it all with the eyes of someone who knows the value of stillness now, and suddenly you remember this view? Not because you've seen it before, but because this is what the hour gave you, the ability to see what was always there. You open the notebook. The first page has one line. Every second you ignored became a moment that waited. You write beneath it, I see you now. And then you begin to list. Not memories, not tasks, but moments you once overlooked. The way the sunlight warmed your face during the 4-minute bus delay. The way your friend said your name when they weren't asking for anything. The time a stranger held the door and smiled, even though you were late. The stretch of silence between your joke and their laughter. The first time you didn't pick up your phone during dinner. The last time you sat in the back seat and looked out the window instead of down. Each one a window, not to look through, but to walk back into. You close the notebook, but you don't stand. You stay there, looking out that window with a soft stillness. And this time, you don't look for anything. You simply let the moment be what it is. Unrushed, unexplained, enough. You breathe in deeply, hold, exhale, and with that breath, you feel it again. That hour, that frozen world, that pause, it never really left. It's in your breath now, in your steps, in your eyes. Time resumed. But you didn't go back. You moved forward, quietly, with the stillness tucked gently inside your chest. A second heart, one that doesn't beat with urgency, but with presence. You rise slowly, leave the notebook open. The next person might need it. You walk back to the door, turn for one last look at the window, and nod. Not goodbye, just thank you. The night has deepened, but for the first time, you don't feel the need to fill it, because silence, as you now know, is not an absence, it's an invitation, and you've learned how to say yes. The letter the wind was carrying. The streets are quieter now, but not because they're empty. You walk among people. They pass by with bags, strollers, conversations. Some rushed, some soft. But what's different isn't them. It's you. Your senses have widened. You're no longer walking to reach a place. You are walking because every step is a place. Every moment is its own arrival. You take a turn without knowing why. Down a street you've never noticed before, lined with tall stone walls and ivy that coils like secrets kept long after they stopped, mattering. At the end of the street, you see it, a small iron gate tucked between two buildings. There's no sign, just an invitation in the form of quiet. You step through, and there, beyond the gate, lies an old courtyard garden, gravel paths, benches weathered by years, a single tree in the center with roots like veins pressed gently against the earth. But what draws your attention most is the bench beneath that tree. Something rests on it, a letter, not folded, not sealed, just placed gently on the wood, as if left for whoever might notice. You approach slowly. No one else is around, only the tree and the wind and the sound of distant time moving again. You sit beside the letter. Its edges are soft. It's been opened before. You pick it up. No name on the outside, no date, just a single word on the front. Stay. You unfold the letter carefully. It's handwritten, ink faded but legible. The handwriting is steady, almost too steady, like someone took their time with each stroke. It reads, "To the one who finds this, you don't know me, but I knew someone like you once. They carried time like a weight. Every minute was a stone in their pocket. Every silence felt like a punishment, until one day the world gave them an hour, just one, where everything stopped, and they didn't. They walked through the frozen streets, just like you might be doing now. They saw what couldn't be seen in motion. They touched stillness and weren't afraid of it. And after that, they were different. Not louder, not faster, just present. They stopped trying to catch up and started trying to be there. That hour passed. Time moved on. So did the world. But they didn't forget. They learned to stay in conversations, in quiet, in eye contact, in laughter that takes too long to build, in pauses before answers, in the moment before goodbye. So, if you found this letter, maybe the hour found you too, and maybe this is your reminder. Stay. Stay longer. Stay softer. Stay still enough to hear what silence is trying to say, even if it's nothing, especially if it's nothing. Yours in stillness, someone who once needed to stop. You sit with the letter for a long time, reading it again, not because you didn't understand the first time, but because something in your chest recognizes the voice in it, not the writer's voice, your own, a part of you that once rushed, once counted seconds like they were currency, once filled every silence with sound. That part of you now feels quiet, not erased, just returned. You fold the letter back gently and place it where you found it, not because you don't want to keep it, but because you know someone else will need it next. You lean back on the bench. The wind brushes gently across your skin. This time, it's not cold. It carries no urgency, only breath. Above you, the branches sway, slowly, as if time is remembering how to move without hurrying. You look around the garden. It's simple. There's no fountain, no sculpture, just stillness held by leaves and old stone. You realize places like this don't exist for the world to notice. They exist so someone can pause without asking permission. You sit in that truth. Let it fill your lungs. Let it remind your shoulders they don't need to hold the sky. And then you close your eyes. You listen. Not for anything. Just to remind yourself you can. And in the stillness, you hear it, the hour you were given. It never left you. It's not an hour on the clock. It's an opening, a doorway that exists in every day. If only you stop long enough to enter it, you stay seated until the wind begins to shift. The sunlight fades just slightly. The shadows lean in new directions. You stand, not reluctantly, not because it's time, but because this moment has lived fully now, and you're ready to walk with it, not away from it. As you leave the garden, you glance back once. The letter is still there, waiting for the next soul to slow down long enough to see it. You walk back into the world. Same sidewalks, same traffic, same noise. But now you don't need them to change because the pause lives inside you. And sometimes that's all it takes to not feel lost in time, but held by it. The place you thought you'd forgotten, evening has fully arrived. The city is dim now, not asleep, but softened. Lights flicker on behind windows like slow burning stars. Shadows stretch, no longer sharp. They blend gently into one another. You walk with purpose, though no destination, only direction. The streets are familiar, yet newly seen, not because they changed, but because now you're present. Every sound, the squeak of a bike chain, a door clicking shut, someone humming from a window, feels like a quiet acknowledgement that the world has resumed, but something in you still moves. By the rhythm of that frozen hour, your pace slows again as you reach the edge of the old district. A bridge looms ahead, stone and iron, arched and heavy. You remember crossing it once, long ago, but the memory is unclear, like a photo slightly out of focus. As you step onto the bridge, you pause, because below it, there it is, the place you thought you'd forgotten. You don't know how you know, but you do. The stairwell down is tucked beside the bridge's base, almost hidden. You descend slowly, the railing cool beneath your fingers. At the bottom, a clearing, stone, ground, worn benches, a railing that opens to the river, and silence, even now, with the world moving again. This place hasn't hurried. It doesn't know how. You walk to the edge and look out over the river. The moon has risen fully now. Not huge, not dramatic, just steady. Its reflection breaks gently across the water. This is the place where, once, you stood with someone who changed you. Maybe a friend, maybe a version of yourself. You stood here years ago, before clocks ruled you, before the days blurred, before you forgot how long a minute can actually feel. You sat here, you laughed here, you may have cried here, and then you moved on. But the place did not. It waited. You sit down on the same bench. It creaks softly, remembering you. For a moment, nothing happens, and then, without planning it, you speak aloud. I'm sorry I left. Not to a person, not even to the place, just to the part of you that paused here long ago, waiting for you to return. You let that sentence linger, then you continue. I didn't mean to stop noticing. I didn't mean to trade wonder for urgency, but I did. The wind responds gently, brushing past you like an old friend who isn't here to scold, only to stay. You lean back and close your eyes, and then you remember you were here during that hour too. Not literally, but this part of you, this part that sees, slows, listens, it was here, all along. When time froze, you didn't just step into stillness, you stepped back into yourself, the self that existed before you had to explain things, before you learned to rush, before you confused noise for importance. You open your eyes. The river flows below. The stars reflect like shattered glass. You look up, and there, on the opposite bench, is a shape, a person, not clearly seen, not spoken to, but familiar. They don't move. They don't speak. They're not a ghost. They're not a memory. They're a mirror. You don't need to ask who they are. You already know. It's the version of you who waited, the one who never stopped believing you'd return, the one who watched you live fast, forget, run, ache, and still stayed here, quietly holding space. You nod. They nod back. No words, just recognition. You sit in silence together, breathing in sync, not trying to reclaim the past, just honoring it. And when you blink again, the bench is empty, but you don't feel alone, because finally, after all this time, you are whole again. You rise, look back once more at the river, and as you walk up the stairs, you say, under your breath, thank you for waiting. You return to the city above. Its heartbeat has picked up again, its energy rising, but you're not rushing to catch up. You are walking slowly, holding something stronger than speed. You are holding remembrance, and every step now is a reunion. The room that waits without a door. There are places you find when you're no longer looking, corners that feel like a whisper, rooms that call you without sound, moments that open themselves only when your hands are empty. You are walking again, gently, through the city. The night is quiet, but not silent. You hear the distant hum of lights, a clatter of dishes from open windows, the faint melody of someone practicing piano, not to perform, but to feel. The streets are lit by soft orange lamps, the kind that don't command attention, but warm everything around them. And then, just before the next turn, you pause. There is a wall here, old, mossy in places, but firm. Nothing unusual about it. No cracks, no passage, and yet you feel drawn to it. There's no gate, no handle, just the sensation that if you believed it could open, it might. You press your palm gently against the stone, It's warm and without effort, without creak, without resistance. The wall opens inward. What lies beyond is not a hallway, not even a space. It's a feeling turned into architecture, a single room, circular, quiet, timeless. You step inside. It's not large. There's no furniture, only the sense of presence. The walls are textured, aged, and smooth like water-worn stone, and across them, faint etchings, not words, not drawings, but traces, like emotions, once lived here and left behind fingerprints of memory. You sit in the center of the room. There's no light source, yet everything glows faintly. You breathe in, and as you exhale, the room begins to speak, not with sound, with reminder. You feel the weight of unspoken thoughts, the ache of joys you didn't give yourself enough time to feel, the warmth of laughter you forgot to relive, the echo of things you almost said but swallowed instead. This is not a memory chamber. It's a mirror, but not the kind that reflects what you look like. It reflects what you've carried, the smile you gave away too quickly, the touch you held too long or not long enough, the words you whispered in your mind but never out loud. You sit still and let the room show you not what you lost, but what you left behind in the rush. And as each trace rises around you, you don't resist, you don't apologize, you simply see. One by one, they dissolve, not vanish, transform into softness, into forgiveness. You begin to weep, not from pain, not from sorrow, but from release. You don't need anyone to hold you, because for the first time, you're holding yourself. The room grows warmer, the air shifts, gentle wind without movement. You place your hand on the floor. It's pulsing, not like a machine, like a heartbeat. This room is alive. It was always waiting, and you realize now it has no door because it never needed one. It was always within you, built in the space between your breaths, waiting beneath the noise, beneath the weight, beneath the musts and shoulds and nexts. You close your eyes. You stay. No thoughts, no stories, no trying, just being for a long time, maybe minutes, maybe hours, but time has never mattered less. When you open your eyes again, the room has dimmed slightly, not from fading, from understanding. It has given what it needed to, and so, gently, you rise. The wall behind you opens again, without command. You step out, back onto the stone path, and as you look back, the wall is whole again. No crack, no gap, just stone. You smile, not because you'll never return, but because now you know how to find it anywhere, anytime, even in the loudest room, the busiest hour, the hardest day. You can return here because the room didn't disappear. It simply went quiet again, waiting, as stillness always does. The moment you didn't miss, you walk one last time through the city. There is no destination, no path mapped in your mind, only rhythm, breath, step, silence. It's late now. The world has fully returned to motion, but you no longer fear being lost in it, because now you know how to slow without stopping. You know how to pause without escaping, how to listen without waiting to reply. And in that, you found the hour again, not in the sky, not in the still people, but in yourself. You come to a hill just outside the city. You didn't plan to go there, but you arrive anyway. At the top, grass sways in slow waves. The wind hums. You sit. Beneath you, rooftops stretch like a memory. Windows blink softly. Life is happening, and it doesn't feel like it's moving too fast anymore because you're not missing it. You lie back on the grass, close your eyes, and then, for a single, miraculous moment, you feel it, that exact stillness, that presence, that quiet hour. It's not gone. It's here. Always was, always will be, and it whispers to you, not with sound, but with certainty. You were never waiting for time to freeze. You were waiting for yourself to return. And now you have the things that stayed behind. The stars above the hill are faint, not because they're shy, but because the city below still glows with its thousand little suns, street lamps, window light, neon flickers that don't need to rest, but you rest, not in sleep, in something deeper, in being. You lie in the grass long after the breeze has passed, not waiting, just witnessing. There's no voice guiding you now, no hand reaching, no girl with a scarf reminding you what you already know, because now you remember on your own that hour, the one the world forgot, but you never did. It wasn't a break in time. It was the moment you remembered what time was for. You stand, slowly, stretch, exhale, let the moment roll off you like mist. You begin walking again, back down the hill, back toward the hum, and as you re-enter the quiet neighborhoods, you notice them, the things that didn't unfreeze, not physically, but emotionally. A chalk drawing on the sidewalk, still fresh, still childlike. A bicycle left leaning against a lamppost, still tilted, still waiting. A teacup on a balcony railing, still steaming, though it shouldn't be. You pass them all slowly, because these are the pieces of that hour that refused to go. They stayed. You weren't the only one it changed. There's a window open above you. A woman is humming, not a tune you know, but it sounds like a lullaby from a world that learned to slow down. Below, a boy skips over cracks in the sidewalk, not counting, just skipping. No rush, no game, just joy. You pause at a narrow street that once held nothing. Now it holds everything. On the wall, a handprint in paint, bright yellow, messy, still drying. Beside it, words scribbled in blocky child's handwriting. This day was slow, and I liked it. You smile. Someone else felt it. Someone else found it. That stillness, that breath, that hour. You walk farther. A man sits on his front steps, holding a mug. He doesn't look at you. He just stares at the sky. And yet, you feel connected to him because you're both looking without needing to see something. That's the difference now. You don't need every moment to perform for you. You allow them to be what they are. You reach a small square you've passed before, dozens of times. But tonight, it's different. A group of friends sits in a circle on the grass. No music, no drinks, just presence. One of them reads something from a notebook. You catch a fragment, and maybe time isn't a straight line. Maybe it's a spiral. Maybe it gives us second chances when we stop trying to escape the first. You don't stop walking. You don't need to join, because in your chest, you already did. You turn the final corner and find yourself outside your own door. It's been hours, or maybe minutes, but for the first time, you're not checking a clock. You're checking your breath, still steady, still calm, still present. You step inside. Everything is exactly as you left it. Shoes by the door, the light above the sink humming gently, the notebook on your desk, the plant that leans toward the window without ever asking if it's the right direction. You sit, not from exhaustion, but because this moment deserves it. You open the notebook. You flip past the pages you've written, past the memories, past the fragments, past the poems. You land on a blank page. At the top, you write, "What stayed behind after the hour passed?" And you begin to list the slowness in my steps, the warmth in my gaze, the space between thoughts, the choice not to speak, the strength in stillness, the silence that listens, the part of me that doesn't rush, the calm that doesn't ask to be earned, the breath that remembers how to stay, the hour that never really ended. You stop there, not because the list is complete, but because you've written enough. You close the notebook and you sit. You don't need music, or a clock, or a calendar, or permission. You need this to exist without needing to be more than that. And in that stillness, in that quiet, you hear it again. Not sound, not voice, just the soft, undeniable knowing. You didn't lose anything when the world started again. You gained something no one else can take, the ability to be fully here, now, always now, the street that didn't ask for change. There's a particular kind of street in every city. It doesn't try to be seen. It doesn't glow, shine, shout, or call. It just is. a quiet curve between two louder roads where the trees lean in just enough to make you feel held, where the pavement is cracked but not broken, where things continue softly. You find yourself there now, not because you planned it, because you're ready for it, and maybe because it's ready for you. The street has no name sign. You notice that first, and it doesn't feel like a mistake. It feels like a choice. The wind moves gently through the branches above, but the leaves don't fall. They wait, and as you walk, you notice details that would have once passed beneath your gaze. The way the light from a street lamp filters through a glass bottle left on a stoop, casting rainbows on the wall behind it. The faint scent of jasmine coming from an unseen window box. A cat asleep on the hood of an old car, its chest rising in the slow, confident rhythm. You walk past a garage. Its door is halfway open. Inside, someone has built a world. A wall of pinned up notes. A canvas with unfinished blue paint. An old record playing something soft. The music reaches the street like a memory. You pause, listen, and then you notice the window above the garage is lit. In the window, a person leans out, elbows resting on the sill. They don't look at you. They look at the sky and they smile. Not a smile for you, not a performance, just joy, simple and unprovoked. You watch for a moment, then continue, because now you don't need to collect moments like trophies. You just let them pass through you, leaving something behind, soft and invisible. You reach the middle of the street. There's a bench here beneath a crooked tree. You sit. A journal lies beside you. You don't touch it, but it's open. One sentence written across the page in the large, careful letters. I didn't need more time. I just needed to stop losing it. You close your eyes. You don't reflect. You don't search for meaning. You just breathe. And in that breath, the hour returns. Not all of it, just its essence, like a tide that comes back without crashing, just enough to touch your feet. You think of every place you've been, the girl with the scarf, the glass house, the fountain, the apartment in the sky, the voice inside the amphitheater, the letter on the bench, the room without a door. And now, this street, not grand, not historic, but timeless in a different way, because it doesn't want to be remembered. It wants to be felt. You open your eyes. A man walks by with a paper bag. He nods. You nod back. And in that brief exchange, you feel the full weight of a life shared, if only for a second, because you both chose not to rush. You rise again. The wind picks up slightly. A leaf finally falls. You don't catch it. You let it land. And in doing so, you understand something new. Not everything is meant to be held. Some things, the best things, are meant to be witnessed. then let go. You walk until the street ends. No signs, no names, just the edge of something meaningful. And as you step off the quiet street, you whisper, not to the road, but to yourself, I will not forget how to see this way. Because even when the street is gone, even when the hour has long passed, you now walk differently. The world hasn't slowed, but you have. And that's how you find the stillness again. Not by stopping, but by not needing to arrive. The whisper of ordinary things. There's something strange about coming back to your own street when you're no longer the same. The buildings haven't moved. The lamppost still leans a little too far left. The dog from 2 houses down still barks at shadows. And yet, everything feels different because now you're seeing with eyes that remember what stillness feels like. You step into your home and don't turn on the lights right away. You let the night come in through the windows, let it stretch across the floor and settle into the corners like it belongs, because it does. You move slowly, putting your keys down, slipping off your shoes, placing your phone face down without checking it, and you breathe. Not because it's the end of the day, but because it's another beginning. In the quiet, you notice how loud your world used to be, not just with sound, but with the pressure of becoming, of doing, of chasing, of proving. You walk into the kitchen. There's nothing you need, and still, you open the fridge, look inside, not because you're hungry, because you're present. That's how different life becomes when you let stillness take root. You don't need a reason to pause. You just do. You pour a glass of water, sip slowly, feel it cool your throat, and suddenly, that simple act feels like a ceremony. You're not performing it. You're in it. You step into the hallway. Your coat still hangs where you left it, but now you look at it differently. You remember the moment you rushed through the door, dragging it behind you like a flag of fatigue. You remember being late. You remember not noticing your own weight. And now you see the space differently. You walk to the bookshelf, not to read, just to touch the spines, to run your hand across the titles, to feel the memory of time paused inside stories you haven't opened in years. You find one, a thin, wrinkled paperback with yellowed pages. You open to a random line, and it reads, "The world wasn't waiting for her to be ready. It was waiting for her to see that she already was." You sit on the floor, right there in the hallway, not in a chair, not at your desk, just on the floor, like you used to when you were young, before time became a task. You sit with the book open in your lap, but you don't read further, because the line was enough. You lean your head back against the wall and stare at the ceiling, at the tiny imperfections, the hairline cracks, the flickering shadow from the street lamp outside. and you begin to whisper, not to anyone, not even to yourself, just to the quiet. You whisper things like, I'm glad I slowed down. I'm sorry I rushed so much. I didn't realize how loud I had gotten on the inside. I'm here now. I'm really here. Your voice is barely audible, but the room hears it. The walls receive it. The stillness listens. You don't cry. Not tonight. Tonight, you don't need to cry to let go. You've already released more than you knew you were holding. You stand, stretch, breathe, and something tugs at you. Not outside, but inward. You walk to your bedroom, sit at the edge of your bed. You reach into the drawer and pull out an old letter, one you never finished writing. You forgot it was there, or maybe you didn't. You read the first few lines, written in a hurry, in a time when you didn't yet know how to pause. You smile, and then, with slow, careful movement, you turn it over and begin again. Not the same message, a new one, a letter, not to someone else, but to yourself. You begin. You waited for stillness to come from the outside, but now you know. It lives within you. It always did. You're not behind. You're not too late. You have not missed your chance. You are here, and that is more than enough. You keep writing until your hand slows, and when you stop, don't sign your name, because the stillness doesn't need names. It knows you by breath, by presence, by your willingness to stay. You fold the letter, place it in the drawer again, let it live there. For the next moment you forget, and then you climb into bed, not to sleep, but to rest. And in that sacred act, you return once more to the place the hour always lives, right here, right now. The breath that held the world. You wake up before the alarm. There is no rush. The light filtering through the curtains is soft, the kind that doesn't ask for your attention, but offers itself gently, like someone nudging your shoulder with a smile. You stay still for a while, on your back, eyes open, not planning, not remembering, just breathing. And for the first time in a long time, you feel like your body woke up with you, not before you, not dragging you into the day. You sit up slowly, touch your feet to the floor, feel the chill of wood against skin, and it strikes you. You are here, not just physically, fully. Your mind is not somewhere else, preparing, defending, forecasting. It's quiet, not empty, just still. You walk to the window and pull back the curtain. The street below is waking up too. A woman waters her plants on a balcony. A child chases nothing in particular. A delivery driver leans on his open van door, sipping something hot, looking nowhere. And yet, everything seems full. You are seeing the world not as a task, but as a presence. The kind of seeing that comes only after you've touched stillness, deep enough to know its taste. You return inside, pour water, slice fruit, Open a window. Everything is ordinary and everything is sacred. Because now, you don't just do things to get through them. You do them to be in them. There is no difference anymore between action and awareness. Even your footsteps feel intentional. Even your pause between sips feels chosen. You sit at the table. Your notebook is already open, as if it knew. On the page, today is not new. It is deeper. You read the words, and you feel them. You begin to write, not to explain, not to produce, just to record the feeling of being present. Your pen scratches softly, saw the morning, and didn't demand it give me anything. I held the handle of the mug like it was something living. I watched the light move across the floor and felt no need to move with it. You stop there. You don't need to fill the page. You've already filled the moment. You close the book, leave it open. You walk into your bathroom and look at yourself, not to assess, not to fix, just to see. And what you see surprises you, not because it's unfamiliar, but because it's so still. You smile. The smile isn't bright, it's real. You press your hand to your chest, feel it, the breath that stayed, the hour that never left, the rhythm that remembers. You whisper, not aloud, not even in your head, but through your being. I'm not rushing today. And the air responds. You get dressed, but differently. You choose clothes not based on what you need to do, but based on what makes your body feel soft inside them. You step out, not into the world, into yourself. Every footstep is light, not because you're walking slower, but because you're not dragging yesterday with you. The trees sway, the bus hums, the world goes on, but you carry something no one else can see. A kind of inner pause, a kind of inner hush, like a lantern that lights without fire, a rhythm that moves without sound. You sit on a bench, cross the street, a couple walks hand in hand, not talking. A crow lands nearby, cocks its head, and all of it feels perfect, not because it's beautiful, but because you're not trying to make it anything else. You've learned now that the world doesn't need to be spectacular to matter. It needs to be noticed. You rest your hands on your knees, tilt your head back, close your eyes, and there, in the middle of a living, moving, rushing world, you are still, and in your stillness, you are holding the hour that changed you, the hour that remembered you, the hour that let you come home, not to a place, but to yourself. The day that didn't disappear, the world is moving again, but it no longer feels like it's rushing. You walk through it now with the knowing of someone who has felt a time slow to a whisper, who has lived in a world paused mid-breath and returned, not dazed, but awake. Today feels like any other. Cars pass, conversations bloom and fade, Emails arrive, appointments tick forward, but beneath it all, you're not swept, you're rooted, because the hour, the sacred silence, the frozen world, it lives in your body now, a rhythm just under your skin, a pulse inside your voice, a quiet behind your eyes. You move through your day with a slowness that isn't delay, it's intention. At the coffee shop, you don't check your phone while you wait. You watch the barista's hands move, fluid, certain. You listen to the hum of the machine, the steam, the pause between greetings, and when your name is called, you respond softly, as if speaking too loudly might wake the world from something important. You step outside, the wind brushes your jacket, and even that feels like an embrace. You walk without a route. Let the city guide you. A bookstore's window calls to you. You enter. You don't scan titles. You run your fingers along the spines. Let them choose you. You sit by the window with a worn book of short stories. You read 2 pages, then stop. Not because you're done, because you found a sentence that deserves more than a glance. The quietest people are often the ones who once lived through the loudest storms. You close the book, not to leave, but to let the words breathe. You sip your coffee. Let it sit on your tongue a second longer than usual. And that's when you notice, across the room, someone is watching you, not intensely, just curiously. They smile when you meet their gaze. You nod, no conversation, just connection, the kind that needs no words, the kind born in stillness. You step back out into the world. It is early afternoon now, and you're not drained. You are present. You walk to the park, sit on a bench in the sun, watch a child release a balloon into the sky. He doesn't chase it, he just waves. And you think, that's what peace looks like, letting go without panic, watching what once was rise and blessing it on its way. You stay for an hour, not because you're waiting, because you're living. You hear someone playing guitar nearby. The melody is simple, slow, and you wonder if they too were changed by a silent hour once. You return home in the golden light of early evening. The windows glow, your shadow follows. Quietly, you enter your space, and it welcomes you, not loudly, just truly. You light a candle, boil water, play no music. You don't need more than what's here. You sit at your desk, the same one where you wrote the letter to yourself. You open a new page. This time, you don't write for memory. You write for continuation. You begin. This is not the end of the hour. It's the beginning of how I live now. You pause. Think back. The frozen raindrop. The girl with the scarf. The library of forgotten seconds. The greenhouse. The man with a flower beside him. The clock that pulsed without ticking. The room with no door. All of it. still with you, you smile, not because you've figured everything out, but because now you don't need to. You've learned the art of letting time unfold instead of bending it to your urgency. You close the notebook and, for the first time since the hour ended, you say it aloud, I'm still inside it. And it's true. The world didn't take it from you. You carried it forward into this minute, into this step, into this page, into this breath. And no matter how loud the world becomes again, you now know how to return because you didn't just experience stillness, you became it. The second silence, even after all this time, you still catch yourself pausing, not out of confusion, but reverence. You are no longer someone who fills every moment. You are someone who lets moments fill you. And that shift has changed everything. The city hums today, busy, alive, but you walk slowly through it, like someone who's learned that missing a moment means missing a life. And that lesson was hard earned. You cross a familiar plaza. The cafe on the corner is full, chairs scraping, cups clinking, laughter bubbling like it never ran out. But you don't go inside. You sit on the bench just outside. You watch, and you feel the strange, quiet truth settle in your chest again. You're not waiting for something to begin. You are living inside it. That second silence, the one that came after the hour, the one that came from within. Because the first silence, the frozen one, it showed you what the world could be. But this one is yours. It lives in your choices now, in your pace, in how gently you hold your gaze when someone else speaks, in how you don't reach for your phone the second you're alone, in how you've learned to say, I'll just sit here a while. You rise, continue down the street. You pass a mural in progress. Two artists work in tandem, brush strokes crossing like conversation. You pause. One of them looks up, nods. You smile. He points to the corner of the painting. It reads, Not everything beautiful moves fast. You continue walking. A man in a wheelchair struggles to open a door. You reach it before he asks. You hold it open. He thanks you without words. You nod without expectation. Moments now feel like ritual, not because they're grand, but because they're fully lived. You enter a bookstore, not to buy, to sit, to breathe in the smell of pages that have waited decades to be read. In the back corner, you find a collection of essays. One is titled, How to Hear the Sound of a Clock Without Losing the Day. You don't open it. You already know what it says. Because now, you hear time differently. You no longer feel behind. You no longer race the hour. You let it walk beside you. You buy nothing. You leave with everything. Later, on your walk home, it begins to rain. The kind of rain that doesn't drench, just touches. And instead of running, you tilt your face upward. Let the water fall softly on your cheeks. You don't hide from it. You don't hurry it. You receive it. Because once, when the world froze, you wished for this, to feel a single drop and have the time to truly feel it. And now you do. The rain continues. You continue. No umbrella, just peace. You arrive home soaked, but warm, because when stillness lives inside you, you don't need to be dry to be at ease. You change clothes slowly. You light a candle. You make tea. Each step is a quiet celebration, because every ordinary act is now an offering to the version of you who once begged for silence. You sit in your window chair. You watch the street shimmer, and you write one line in your notebook. The hour changed me, but the second silence is how I stayed changed. You close the book. No flourish, no ceremony, just a full breath, and another, and another. The hour that never left. The world continues to move. Cars roll forward, shops open, calendars flip, alarms buzz. But beneath all of that, you are not the same, because the hour, the one that froze time, that unhooked you from the noise, that pulled the sky still, it didn't end. It just changed shape. It lives in your pauses, in your breath before answering, in your ability to step away without fleeing, in how you hold space for others and for yourself. And today, as the sun rises again over a familiar sky, you feel it more than ever, not because the world has slowed, but because you have not forgotten. You take your morning differently now, not as a routine, as a rhythm. You no longer race the clock to find the day. You let the day find you. You open the window, breathe in the quiet. You boil the water slower. You hold the mug longer. You let the warmth sink in before taking the first sip. These small things, they are not delays. They are reminders that you're no longer surviving time. You are inhabiting it. You dress without checking the weather, not out of recklessness, out of trust, because now you are prepared to feel whatever the world brings. You walk without music in your ears. You let the city sing its ordinary song. A truck backing up, a bird calling from a wire, shoes against pavement, wind skimming storefront awnings. You hear it all, and more importantly, you receive it. You pass a flower stall. You stop, not because you need flowers, because something in you says, pause, here, let beauty happen. You let your fingers brush the petals. Let the scent linger on your fingertips longer than it needs to. You continue walking, no destination, just direction. You end up near the river, the same river where once a version of you said thank you to someone you couldn't name. That version still lives in you, not as memory, as foundation. You sit on a bench. People move past you like flowing water, but you do not move. You are anchored. You pull a piece of paper from your coat pocket. Blank. You begin to write. Not a letter, not a poem, not even a thought, just a truth. This hour never ended. It just learned how to follow me. You fold the paper. You don't save it. You don't post it. You place it gently under the bench for the next person who stops long enough to find it. Because that's what the hour did for you. It didn't change the world. It simply showed you how to meet it with stillness. And now, that stillness is yours to carry, to return to share. You rise, you walk, and as you do, you realize the world never paused for you. You paused for it, and in doing so, you saw it more clearly than anyone who kept running ever could. The space between heartbeats. There are moments you remember not because they were loud, but because they were complete. Like when a song ends and you leave the silence there, because filling it would feel like erasing something holy. That's what today feels like. The sky is quiet. Clouds drift with no urgency. The light is pale, but full. You're walking again, not to arrive, to return to that space inside you where everything is slower, truer, held. You take a path lined with trees. Their branches form an arch above you, not dramatic, just protective, like memory, and beneath your feet, the leaves crunch softly. Even that sound makes you pause, because even now, days, weeks, months later, the hour lives in you. You stop beside a small stone wall. It's low, uneven. On top of it, there's a single object, a metronome, wooden, wound, but still. Its pendulum fixed in the center. You pick it up gently, turn it toward you, tap the side. Nothing. And then, tick, tock, soft, measured. Each swing feels like a reminder of the way the world used to move, of how you once tried to match it, of how exhausting it was to keep pace with something that never waited. You sit on the wall. The metronome ticks beside you, and something begins to settle. You remember a phrase you once read. Stillness isn't the absence of movement. It's the presence of attention. You close your eyes. Let the ticking guide you inward. And suddenly, you feel it again. The hour, not as a flashback, not as nostalgia, as breath. You let your mind drift. To the girl with the scarf. To the moment by the fountain. To the rooftop that touched the sky. To the place where someone left you a letter. To the garden you never meant to find. To the room without a door. To the echo of your own voice in an empty amphitheater. They're not memories now. They're landmarks in your heart. They shape how you move, how you listen, how you speak. Even now, as the metronome ticks again, you don't hear it as pressure. You hear it as permission to slow, to wait, to feel the full weight of a second before passing through it. You rise again, leave the metronome where it was, Someone else will find it. Someone else will listen. You continue walking, and in your chest, your own heartbeat syncs with the world, but not to match it, to meet it on your terms, with your rhythm. You pass a family at a park bench. They're not talking, they're just sitting together, looking at ducks on the water, and that, you realize, is everything. Because love doesn't live in what's said, it lives in the space between words, in the glances, the silence shared without discomfort, the pause before reaching for a hand, the breath before goodbye, the stillness between heartbeats. You walk farther, to a chapel that isn't open. You sit on its steps. Let the weight of the day settle on your shoulders, not as burden, as warmth. You pull your notebook from your coat pocket, and this time, you don't write thoughts. You write names, people who paused with you, places that gave you silence, moments that met you with quiet instead of answers. You write until the ink begins to fade, and at the very bottom of the page, you write, "Stillness didn't save me. It reminded me I didn't need saving." You close the notebook, close your eyes, and for one long, deep second, the world and your breath move together, not in chaos, not in fear, in rhythm. The space between your heartbeat widens, and in that space, you feel completely, entirely home, where you left yourself last. The day is winding down. The light has changed again, less golden, more blue. Cool shadows stretch longer across the pavement. Everything feels like it's holding its breath before night returns. But you are not in a rush to end anything. You walk slowly down an empty street. Shops are closing. Lights flicker inside homes. You pass them all without needing to enter, because this moment, this walk, feels whole. At the end of the street, you find a path you haven't taken in years. You hesitate, not because you're afraid, because something in your body remembers this place. Even if your mind forgot, you follow it. The path winds behind an old school, past a broken fence, through a small grove of trees that somehow still grow, even though they don't belong to anyone. And there it is, the bench, faded, unmoved, facing a quiet pond. You sit. It creaks beneath you, but holds your weight as if it's been waiting, because this is where you left yourself last, years ago. Not physically, emotionally, before the noise, before the hour, before the girl with the scarf, before you knew how to stay with your own breath. You were here, sitting on this same bench, searching for something you didn't know how to name. And now you've returned, not to reclaim it, to meet it. You close your eyes, and in the quiet, you feel the bench hold every version of you that's ever sat here. The tired one, the restless one, the heartbroken one, the silent one, the dreaming one, And now, the one who has learned what stillness really means, you breathe in deeply. The air smells like damp leaves and memory, and it happens again. The hour returns, not as a storm, not as a gift, just as presence. You reach into your coat pocket, pull out the notebook, you flip to a blank page, and you begin to write, not quickly, not perfectly, but with purpose. This is where I last lost myself, and this is where I now return to find the rest. You keep writing thoughts, confessions, truths that waited too long. You write, I thought silence would swallow me. Instead, it fed me. I didn't know how much noise I was carrying until everything went quiet. I stopped needing to prove myself when I learned how to just be with myself. Stillness doesn't mean absence, it means presence without armor. You let the pen fall quiet. You don't reread. You close the book gently, as if tucking in an old friend. And then you sit back, not to reflect, just to be. Bird song rings faint in the trees. The pond glimmers with the last light of the day. A breeze lifts the edge of your coat. And in this small, forgotten space, you feel entirely seen by no one. And that's what makes it sacred, because some moments don't need witnesses. They just need you to stay, to breathe, to come back. You place the notebook beside you on the bench, not because you're done, because you're home. And tonight, that's all you needed to remember. When the hour became you, it's late. Not the kind of late where the city sleeps, the kind of late where the soul listens. Everything outside is calm now, curtains drawn, headlights softer. Even the wind is less urgent, and inside, you sit on the floor, back against the wall. Lights dim, no sound but your own breath. This is not the hour the world gave you. This is the hour you gave yourself. You close your eyes, and when you do, you don't see darkness. You see the hour again, but not like before. Now, it plays like film. Each place you visited, each pause, each echo, each face. You see the girl at the museum. You see the bench by the tree, the glass house, the fountain, the sky above the rooftop, the path behind the school, the note on the cafe wall, the handprint on the sidewalk, the soundless chapel. And you don't just see them, you feel them. Each one was never a place. Each one was a version of you, unrushed, unmasked, uninterrupted. You breathe deeply, and now you speak, not for anyone else to hear, just for the hour to return. One final time, you whisper, I thought time was something I had to manage, but it was waiting for me to remember how to be with it. You pause. The silence responds, not with words, but with warmth, a kind of presence you now know is always available when you remember to stop chasing. You speak again. I don't need to go back to that hour because I am the hour now, and you mean it. You are not trying to relive what happened. You are living from it. You reach for your notebook one last time. You write, time resumed, but I never did. You pause, then continue. I slowed until I became the moment. I stayed until I belonged again. I listened until silence started speaking back. You stop writing, not because it's finished, because you don't need to say more. You finally trust the space between your sentences. You trust what remains unspoken. You trust yourself. You close the notebook, place it beside you, and in the stillness of this night, you feel it again. Not the hour, not the girl, not the bench or the pond or the glass house. You feel you, the version of you that was always waiting beneath the noise, beneath the urgency, beneath the speed. And now you're no longer waiting. You have arrived fully, quietly, and you know now, no matter where you go, no matter how loud the world becomes, no matter how fast the days move again, you carry the hour inside you. You became it, and that is how you live now.